Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to spend some time with me and check the video out. Today we're going to be talking about a common dilemma that most every bass angler faces, including professional anglers, and that is to determine how long do you need to fish a spot before you leave it. Should you leave? Should you stay? What's the variable surrounding that in order for you to make that decision? And it's a legitimate question because it's not. There's a lot of variables to this as far as determining the potential of an area or how if you used it up. So we're going to give you guys some tips and advice in today's video and sort of go over some of my experiences I've had with it. I've had a chance over the past 50 years to really study a lot about the potential of an area in terms of how long to stay there. I'm going to share that with you guys in today's video. I'm also, guys, just a couple quick reminders. I'd like to invite everybody to please consider hitting that subscribe button here to Advanced Bass Fishing. Really good way to support the channel. And also, if you guys are wanting to give something back to the Advanced Bass Fishing, the channel here, the best way you can do it is just go into every one of my video descriptions. I put all the links in there, like my Tackle Warehouse link and my sunglasses link and my Fish the Moment Lake Map breakdowns, my jig links and everything. If you guys use those links, it's a good way to support the channel and much appreciated for me and my family there. Okay, guys, how do you know when to go, when to stay? That's the big question we all ask in fishing. And this is something that you can't, it's not a quick fix. This is something like I can't just like do a little seminar on this and automatically you're going to pick it up. So much of it has to do with, it's a feel, it's sort of an intuition. There's some practical, logistical considerations to make, but I sort of want to go through the process that I use as far as determine, if I need to leave a spot or, stay and fish around a spot a little bit more. Now, first of all, one of the biggest considerations is the amount of cover and the diversity of cover that you have in an area. This is one of the things that holds larger populations of bass. If you're in an area that has a lot of cover in it, whether it be grass cover or wood cover or docks or rocks or whatever, the potential for an area is always much greater. And therefore, if you have an area that has a diversity of cover and lots of it, that is the type of a situation that you're usually going to want to stay a little bit longer in, even if the fishing's tough. And on the other end of the spectrum, if you have an area that doesn't have much cover to it, doesn't seem like there's a lot of options for the fish, then that's an area that you'll find out pretty quick if they're there or not, and then you need to leave if you don't catch them. And then there's gradients in between there. It's not like just one area has no cover and other areas loaded with it. There's an element of the different types of cover, so that has to be taken into consideration when you're determining it as well. So here's how I go about it. Let's say that first of all, when I choose a fishing area that I very first want to go into fish, I'm looking for an area that can possibly hold a concentration of bass. Not necessarily a school of bass, but some type of a place where a lot of fish can live there. And normally, in order for a lot of fish to live in one particular area, you've got to have cover. And that, like I said, that cover can be whatever the lake has in it, that particular lake, but there needs to be a lot of it. And it needs to be positioned in a part of the lake that is really good seasonally. For example, like in the winter time of the year, usually the lower lake's better. In the summertime of the year, the upper lake's better. In the mid part of the year, the protected coves are better. So that requires a little bit of an understanding of bass movements. But if I get into an area that looks right, say the water clarity's right and the cover's right, everything feels right, I'm seeing some activity, I'm seeing some bait fish on my electronics, I'm seeing minnows in the water, I'm seeing, squirrels up on the bank. If there's a lot of life and a lot of potential in that area, even if the fish aren't biting very good, I'm still going to stay there longer. And I'm going to stay there longer, and I'm going to adjust my techniques, and I'm going to adjust my lure colors, the different types of lures that I have, the casting angles. I'm going to try to exhaust like every possibility that I have before I leave that area. Now, if I'm in another type of an area, let's say I got one area that's loaded with good cover, a lot of docks, a lot of grass, a lot of lily pads, good potential. And then the next spot that I go to is maybe just a straight flat bank with not a lot of good looking cover on it. Maybe there's some mixed rock and, no wood cover. There's just not much there. If I make a pass down through that particular area that doesn't have much cover or doesn't have much potential in my own mind, that is when I pull up and leave and I go to a different area. So I'll give it one good pass and then make a decision. Now, here's one thing that will help you determine how many fish are in an area pretty quickly. I have what's called the 20-minute rule. I'll fish a stretch or a place that I'm fishing for maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes with one lure. If that doesn't work, a lot of times I'll change up my lures and I'll go through this process maybe 2 or 3 times before I make that determination to pick up and leave. Because a lot of times you don't want to leave an area that has potential, but you are not aware of that. And that's ultimately what you have to get good at, is assessing the potential that an area has. A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people stay in an area too long that simply doesn't have the potential. And a lot of guys, they get impatient and they leave a really good area at the wrong time. And a lot of times it has to do with the time of the day. You may pull up on an area that has a ton of fish in there, but if you're not there during the little window of the day where they're biting, you're not going to catch much. Let's say, for example, one area, those fish are active and they're biting right off the bat in the morning. If you roll in there at 10 o'clock, it may be over when you get in there. Or you may have one area where those fish don't get active until the sun gets up, and you may come in there in the morning and not catch anything and give up on it, and then somebody else rolls in there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and loads the boat. I've had that happen to me a ton. So in addition to being able to visually assess the potential of an area, you also have to figure out the time of the day that you need to be there. And that is the hard part about it, because that is something that requires fishing that area a long time. And unless you fish a spot all day long or an area all day long, you'll never determine what the bite window is. Another thing with that is how big the area is. You can have an area that has a lot of cover in it, but if the area isn't expansive enough to hold large concentrations of fish that move in and out, that's another consideration. You may not want to stay there, quite as long if the area isn't that big. But every situation is unique to itself. And one of the biggest things in fishing is you've got to learn how to quickly assess an area of its potential productivity. And sounds easy, but it's not easy, because you never really know. I mean, one of the things that really helps me on this is when you're fishing, if you're really fishing at a good pace, you have to be methodical, not necessarily slow, but you have to figure out the right pace of fishing a certain area. Sometimes if you're fishing a slow bait like a shaky head or a jig, you just really got to slow down like a snail. And other times, if you're fishing a crankbait or a spinnerbait or something that you can fish a little bit faster, you have to determine what is the pace that you have to fish at to efficiently cover that water. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make that will make you overlook a real good spot and leave it too soon is by fishing too fast. You will never do good in bass fishing if you try to slop through an area or try to fish it too fast. If anything, when you're not catching them, you need to slow down a little bit. Slow your presentations down, slow your boat down. I've never seen a situation in my life when I'm not catching them and I'm getting frustrated and you naturally tend to want to speed up, that it helps out. It always usually works in the opposite. So slowing down in a good area will also, let you assess the potential of that spot a little bit better. But the main thing, guys, that I could leave you with as far as how long to spend in an area and how long not to spend in an area, it has to do with how much cover is in an area and how much life is within that area. Pay close attention to everything that's going on around you. If you're not seeing much activity on your locator or up on the bank or fish swimming around, and there's not a lot of cover, don't spend much time there. But on the other hand, if everything is lined up right and it looks good and you got activity, spend a little bit longer in there. So anyway, hope it helps out, guys. We'll see you.